all about his righteousness, keeping Yahweh on my mind and showing myself approved. I know he shall reign, so I stand today just to give him praise. Come and learn about Yahweh, come and get your blessings, come and teach about Yahweh, come and be set free. No more pain, no more sorrows from now on. Yahweh, we praise your name. We were born to be. We praise your holy name. I have my scepter in my hand, ready to teach the world all about this man. I have my crown upon my head, ready to show the world how to give him praise. I know he shall reign, so I stand today just to give him praise. Come and learn about Yahweh, come and get your blessings, come and teach about Yahweh, come and be set free. Showing the world I know who I am. I have my shoes upon my feet, ready to run the holy Mount Zion. I know he shall reign, so I stand today just to give him praise. Come and learn about Yahweh, come and get your blessings, come and teach about Yahweh, come and be set free.
Shalom, family. The nation of Yahweh would like to thank you for joining us tonight for Yahweh's Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread observation for the solar year 6026. We are making a global call to good people, and at this feast, we will learn how righteousness brings about the change we need to see. I hope you're ready, because you are in for a treat. We'll get started with a prayer and then a welcome. Then we'll have a presentation by our teaching priest for tonight. After that, a very special message by the Most Honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
And now for our prayer. If we will all stand and face the east with outstretched hands. O Yahweh, God of our salvation, save us, gather us together, and deliver us from this heathen, so that we may give thanks to thy holy name and glory in thy praises. Blessed be the holy name of Yahweh and Yisrael forever. O Yahweh, let them be confounded that persecute us, but let not us be confounded. Let our enemies be dismayed, but let not us be dismayed. Bring upon our enemies the day of evil, and destroy them with double destruction. O Yahweh, forgive our fathers for breaking your laws, and please forgive us for breaking your laws. Help us to never bring shame upon thy great name, nor reproach against thy works, For surely we have turned ourselves to thee, O Yahweh, trying to be upright. And as we confess our faults, please grant us protection against all of our faults. Cleanse us of our secret faults and guide us to the best of morals. For surely our prayers and our sacrifices, our lives and our deaths are all for thee, O Yahweh. Tefillah. Avenu Shabashamayim, Yikadesh Shemeaka, Tavo Malkuteraka, Yadze Rezonka, Kim Bashamayim Kain Ba'aretz, Elekum Kukenu, Tain Lanu Hayom, Uslat Lanu, All Kartienu, Kimosa Sol King, Gamanatnu, Lakotiem Lanu, Veal Tevienu, Lade Nisayom, King Kal Senu, Min Hara, Kilaka, Hamamlaha, Veha Givera, Veha Tefieret, Leolame, Olamin Sila. We thank thee, O Yahweh, O living and eternal King, who has so mercifully restored our souls within us. So let everything that has breath praise Yahweh.
Shalom Aleichem, family. Again, my holy Hebrew name is Shiphrah. Giving all praise, honor, and glory to my Father, the omnipresent, maleficent, elite creator of the universe, Yahweh Ben Yahweh. From the nation of Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Beth Nun Sofit Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Feast of Passover and Unleavened Bread. The Passover is the first of our annual Hebrew feast. It is a celebratory commemoration of the time when the Lord Yahweh delivered our forefathers from bondage, which is a sign of our mental and spiritual condition today. While our festivals recall our nation's history, they are also relevant to our present and future sacrifices. Deuteronomy 16:16 says, 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God, Yahweh, in a place which he shall choose. The Feast of Unleavened Bread, and the Feast of Weeks, and in the Feast of Tabernacles. And they shall not appear before the Lord Yahweh empty. The word Passover is pronounced Pesach in the Hebrew language. The first letter of Pesach is Pei. Pei is symbolic to the mouth. Therefore, the Pesach, meaning the words that proceeded out of the mouth of our Messiah Yahweh Ben Yahweh, is issuing salvation and ordinance. And it is through the message and teachings of Yahweh Ben Yahweh, the Passover lamb, that healeth us and continues to keep us safe here in modern-day Egypt. Deuteronomy 8:3 says, so he humbled you, allowed you to hunger, and fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, that he might make you know that man should not live by bread alone, but man lives by every word that proceeds from the mouth of the Lord Yahweh. Lahith Rayot, and may the joy of the Lord Yahweh Ben Yahweh be with you forever. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Feast of Passover and Unleavened Bread.
Praise Yahweh. Thank you for that warm welcome. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce tonight's teaching priest. This sister is a humble servant of Yahweh, but not only is she a humble servant of Yahweh, she is a humble servant of Yahweh's people, Yahweh's children. As executive director of Builders of the Highway Foundation, her superior professional administration skills has caused us to be something that our Father would be very, very proud, is very, very proud of. And her work to develop cooperative models for business all over the country is second to none. Brothers and sisters, I present to you tonight's teaching priest, Sister Tamah, Yisrael. Praise Yahweh.
Well, praise Yahweh, family. It is truly an honor and a pleasure to be present with you all this evening. I am so ever grateful to our Father, the most honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh, for preparing a table for us to feast upon at this Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread celebration, solar year 6026. I'm grateful for that introductions by Brother Lou. Told us so much for your warm words and kind accolades. I'm just very grateful that Yahweh has put us together in this unity to do the will of our Father, Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Well, as he shared, I'm Sister Tamah Yisrael, and I am going to be sharing tonight from How to Overcome the World at this Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. I'll be sharing some information that's needed for us to really consider what it means to be free, to be sovereign, and to be independent of the enemies of Yahweh. I want to share a little bit about the history in this country, and then just some things we need to consider as we move forward in our walk towards being preserved by Yahweh Ben Yahweh. So tonight, I'm going to be sharing from the chapter, By Yahweh Ben Yahweh Shall You Be Preserved. So I'll be reading in part from this chapter and then going into our class for tonight. I want to give you an opportunity to grab a pen, a piece of paper. There will be some notes that you might want to take into consideration, and also invite you to revisit this teaching and all the previous night's teachings on our YouTube channel. So that's the Nation of Yahweh's YouTube channel, where you can see the live streams from all of our night's feasts, as well as other content that's needed and necessary for our salvation today. Well, so we'll move on in our presentation. If you've gotten those pen and paper and things to take note of, I also want to encourage you to have the King James Version of the Bible, have all of your study tools, the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, and even the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, several dictionary and thesauri for your continued study of this wisdom and knowledge. So here is a little information from the wisdom that's found in How to Overcome the World. So I'm going to get us started here. And again, we are in our Feast of Unleavened Bread. And this reading comes from pages 304 and 305 of How to Overcome the World. By Yahweh Ben Yahweh shall you be preserved. The whole chapter is encompassed in pages 304 to 307, but I'll be reading in part. Overcoming the world requires you to acknowledge that Yahweh is good and does good. Psalms chapter 119, verse 68. Are you one of the spiritually dead lost sheep of the house of Yisrael? Are you conscious of being in slavery, physical servitude in America? Are you conscious of the fact that Yahweh told your father Abraham almost 6,000 years ago that you would be a stranger in a land, America, that is not yours, and that you would serve the rulers of America, and that they would afflict you 400 years. And also that nation whom you serve will I judge. And afterward, you shall come out with great substance. Therefore, I am your redeemer. Do you accept me as your redeemer? Then let the redeemed of Yahweh say so, whom he has redeemed from the hand of the enemy. Genesis chapter 15, verse 13 and 14. Psalms chapter 107, verse 2. All who believe, accept, and receive Yahweh Ben Yahweh is redeemed from the hand of the enemy. You are my witness that Yahweh has saved you from the hand of him that hated you and redeemed you from the hand of the enemy. Psalm 106, verse 10. Yahweh saved Israel, your fathers, out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw that great work which Yahweh did upon the Egyptians. And the people feared Yahweh and believed Yahweh and his servant Moses. Exodus chapter 14, verse 30 and 31. In Exodus 14:13, Moses commanded Israel to stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. The confirmation is now made that on the day that Yahweh saved them, they saw his great work and believed. Yahweh had led them into a position in which they were not able to save themselves, and they could only depend on him for their salvation. Likewise, you, the spiritually dead lost sheep of the house of Israel, have been led into a position in which you are not able to save yourself. And you can only depend upon Yahweh for your salvation. The deliverance of the Israelites, your fathers, from Egypt is a central theme throughout the Old Testament. Throughout our history, the descendants of these Israelites are called upon to remember the events of that day. 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 7, 2 Chronicles chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. And again, this excerpt of the teaching came from How to Overcome the World, pages 304 and 305, Yahweh by Yahweh Ben Yahweh, Shall You Be Preserved. Now, in this teaching, Yahweh Ben Yahweh posed several questions, and there's a lot for us to consider in these questions, but I'm only going to deal with first getting a grounding of what it means to be preserved. Because this is what this chapter is telling us. By Yahweh Ben Yahweh shall you be preserved. Now, preserve, which is a verb, is keep safe or free from harm. Act so as to ensure that something does not occur. Maintain, keep in a certain quality, state or condition. Now, family, I have to ask you, and we're going to get into the first question that Yahweh Ben Yahweh presented, but I have to ask you, and we have to ask ourselves, have we, the so-called lost sheep, children, the spiritually dead lost sheep, house of Israel, have we been kept safe from harm or free from harm? Now, that's a thing for us to consider. Now, we understand, and especially in this chapter, Yahweh Ben Yahweh asked us, are you conscious of being in slavery physical servitude in America. Now, when we consider this, we have to consider that something happened. Let's go back to that definition. Something did occur and something did cause harm. And there was a state or a quality or condition that we did not maintain or keep as a people. Because when we look at the fact that here in the hills of North America, our people literally was in slavery, in physical servitude, right here in America. And Yahweh Ben Yahweh lifts this question out for us to consider. Now, I know many of us say, well, that happened so many years ago. And, people, slavery isn't really bothering us today. And it's not a part of anything that we need to be considering. Well, family, Yahweh Ben Yahweh wrote these words not too long ago in our recent history, post the so-called slavery here in America, post the so-called slavery even in Egypt. And he asked us, are you conscious of being in slavery, physical servitude in America? Well, that said, family, I have a few things I want us to consider before we answer this question. Now, servitude means, and you can find this definition from a basic online dictionary search, which is slavery, bondage of any kind, compulsory service, labor as a punishment for criminals. Does that mean we have been criminals? Does that mean that there is a punishment that we are dealing with as a people? And we have to ask ourselves that, because when we consider what happened in Egypt all those years ago, and then here we are, the children of Yahweh, faced with a similar condition, it lets us know that there was a criminal act that took place. We did not keep the law. We did not keep the statutes, the judgments, and commandments as prescribed to us by Yahweh. And he gave us this deliverance in Egypt day. But for some reason, we ended up back in these conditions. Now, I'm showing these images of slavery, the slavery that we experience here in America, for a reason, because we consider, again, we ask ourselves this question of, what does that have to do with me this day? The Emancipation Proclamation, we had all these things that happened in this country, the Civil Rights Movement. We are a liberated, free people, right? Well, let's dig into this a little bit deeper. Post-slavery, some things happen, right? I mentioned here just a moment ago, the actual Emancipation Proclamation that, quote unquote, freed the enslaved people here in America. But what most people don't realize is slavery itself, the institution of slavery itself, led way to another movement that's very significant on our society today, called the Industrial Revolution. Now, I told you to get yourselves ready. We needed to take some notes because there's some studying and some understanding that we need to get to. So the Industrial Revolution in our modern day history had a very significant impact on society, the economy, and guess what? Our living standards. Seems like we're going somewhere with this point. The way we live was based off, one, a movement that came post-slavery, the post our enslavement, and created this huge movement for, economic gains and societal gains and living standards. But it also even led to the increase of employment opportunities and wages in various sectors, So people were able to actually get paid for their labor in this country, as well as increase the demand for housing in cities. Well, this is all, it sounds really wonderful and it sounds very magnificent. But let's go on in this study to see a little bit deeper what this means for us today. It also created the Industrial Revolution we're talking about, also resulted in so many new inventions and technological advancements, making way for us to have a good way of life. We all got our Wi-Fi and our cell phones and all these magnificent technologies that have improved the way we live. But throughout that, we saw some other stuff surface that was very, very, harsh. Even post the so-called slavery that lasted for 400 years, we saw the Industrial Revolution bring about unsafe working conditions, environmental pollution. It also widened the wealth gap. The wider distribution of wealth and increased international trade were among the economic changes that were brought about by the revolution. Again, it led to the growth of cities and the development of working class movements and an emergence of new patterns of authority. So let's talk about this. Some patterns that we're noticing in authority is certain groups of people, not the working class, sit in these high places and they make decisions about your way of life to this very day. Now, I'm sure many of us can connect to this and we understand this and we are very attuned to this. But it goes back to that question that we asked in the beginning. Are you aware of? Are you conscious of? Are you mindful of the physical servitude here in America? Well, I'm naming these things in this presentation just for your consideration so that you can really get conscious, gain some understanding around this. The other thing that this gap in this revolution and this movement brought about for us was, again, this huge wealth gap. And I want to hit on that a little bit, because when we look around our communities, and we can talk about certain neighborhoods, but we go look in places like Detroit. Let's look at Detroit for a minute. Big, huge industrial city, right? But I know many people who can testify that the city is what they call disinvested. The car industry left that city and left large amounts of poverty in that city. So people were left trying to figure out ways to make a living because that industry decided to up and leave. So while the Industrial Revolution brought about all these inventions, these advancements, these opportunities for employment, what it also did was make some groups of people subject to people who made decisions about what industries and where these industries needed to be. So hoping we digging in on this and gaining some understanding, because we want to be preserved. We want to overcome the world. And we also need to acknowledge that there is a group of people who don't mean us good out here, who we trust our day-to-day, our well-being to. Let's move on. So the question I have for us now is, who owns your labor? Now, the most honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh tells us as a people to be industrious, work for yourself, and actually create wealth for yourself. But how can you do that when your labor, you're going and you're selling your labor for pennies? When I say labor, your hard work, the things that you do in life, we go and we sell our labor for pennies, literally, not making a fair wage. not making what it takes for us to meet our basic human needs. So we talk about basic human needs, your basic human needs for housing, food. And we look at this beautiful picture with this feast here, and we understand that we go sell our labor so we can have these nutrients, the well-being for our families, a safe house and safe communities and safe schools. But as we can see, and even our presenters from the previous night have really lifted up how unsafe these conditions are for us. They're literally unsafe, but yet we constantly sell our labor away for pennies, and we give away our power to make decisions for ourselves and our families to someone who doesn't have our well-being in mind. Now, we got to remember that when we left the quote unquote American slavery, there were a lot of things that happened, and there were a lot of people in places making decisions, but we weren't those people. Most people that you call the working class, black or white, doesn't matter, were not at the table of the decision makers. They decided, whoever these decision makers are, they decided that only a small percentage of them were qualified, well endowed enough to make these decisions, make certain decisions about what happens in our communities. And we weren't included in that. So we have to ask ourselves, does this seem right? Are we still in servitude? Are we still not in control of things? And the answer to that question is yes. If we are unable, and I see many people nowadays, they are looking at look at our conditions in our neighborhoods. Look at the spaces we have to occupy. Look at the community that we live in. Look at our ability to make our homes safe. We're struggling as a people, not just in one neighborhood, but in Black neighborhoods, brown neighborhoods, whatever color you want to call them. They are struggling because a small percentage of our society has decided that they own and control most of the planet's resources. Now, is that freedom? Is that liberation? Does that feel like sovereignty? Does that feel like the lifestyle that you would choose for yourselves? And I'm going to answer that question for myself. It's outside the lifestyle of Yahweh, and it is not the lifestyle that I choose. Yahweh told us in this chapter that Yahweh gives us good. Everything that we're experiencing in this society today is outside of good. It's wreaking havoc on our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. And again, I don't have to go into all the things because our previous night's facilitators, our teachers, gave us these just magnificent messages to let us know that we have to figure out a way to make a change. And Yahweh Ben Yahweh told us that if we did something, if we made a certain decision, that these things will actually change for us. He is going to change these conditions. We understood that we are afflicted in this country, and we don't own our current labor. We don't own our communities. We don't own our ability to produce food. We don't own our ability to even have clean drinking water or fresh air to breathe. Now, you tell me whether that is the ultimate physical servitude or not. Because in my eyes, in my mind's eye, not being able to feed yourself, you don't own the production of feeding yourself, not being able to provide clean drinking water, and not owning the sources when our Father owns this planet, but somebody else is in control of it, and you have to pay this person called BILL just so you can have water to drink, is clearly an indicator of our servitude. And so Yahweh in this message told us to stand still so we can see the salvation of Yahweh. Stand still. Stand still so we can actually see and compare today like we did back in Egypt's day, that Yahweh will deliver us. But it requires something from us. It requires us to recognize and remember. That's what this Passover season is for. It's for us to remember that Yahweh delivered us then. Is it not the same amount of power? Does he not possess that same power that he did back then? He does. And he demonstrated to us, and we bear witness this day of the things that Yahweh is doing to save us. Praise Yahweh. I also want to lift out that it was not just a single person, a single country, because this industrial revolution, when we look at that, the industrial revolution, which is a movement that brought about change across the planet, all nations across the planet benefited from the distribution of your labor and extracting the planet's resources. So basically, somebody who is in control of everything, decided that they were going to control the water. They were going to control all the minerals on the earth, even the dirt that we put our properties on. They decided that they were going to be in control of it, and they tilled the land with our labor, and they sold it across the globe. So all nations across the planet benefited from this resourcing of labor that began with the slavery here in America. So the Industrial Revolution has pretty much paved way, and I'm not knocking the inventions or the conveniences that we are afforded this day, but we have to come to some kind of sense of reality that these benefits, these conveniences come at a grave cost, and all nations across the planet are benefiting from that. If you look at Psalms chapter 83, verses 1 through 5, and I'll read this for us. Keep not thy silence, O Yahweh, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. Now, Yahweh told us to be still, but Yahweh is not going to be still. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. They are confederate against you and me. So all nations across the planet took part in the benefits of this revolution to take hold of us as a people. So what must we do? Well, Yahweh Ben Yahweh said in this chapter, then let the redeemed of Yahweh say so, whom he has redeemed from the hand of the enemy. Well, what does it mean to be redeemed? Let us visit that conversation for just a moment. So in being redeemed, get back to our slide. In being redeemed, We understand that we were sold into slavery, right? So the name, the definition of the word redeem, which is a verb, means to buy back, ransom, recover by purchase. Now check this out. And this is from the online etymological dictionary. In a theological sense, deliver from sin and spiritual death. Now, he asked us in this chapter, are you aware? Are you one of the spiritually dead lost sheep of the house of Israel? So being redeemed means that Yahweh is going to buy back. Yahweh will make the ransom. Yahweh will recover by purchase. He will deliver us from sin and spiritual death. Rescue, deliver, save, and make amends for. Make good. Now, okay, we just touched on something. At the very beginning of this, it stated that overcoming the world requires you to acknowledge that Yahweh is good and does good. So in our redemption, we have to be made good. There's that action that we're talking about. We have to be made good, meaning not bad. That means we have to understand the things that have put us in this bad condition. And also just understanding, let's go back to redeem real quick. Also understanding that there is a situation now, and this is only part of it. Our labor is really upholding the things that are keeping us in a bad condition. We are fueling this industry that is so-called our servitude through our consumerism, through our business practices, through the lifestyles, literally the lifestyles we choose. And we see in this understanding of what happened during the Industrial Revolution that our lifestyles change. It changed from one state to the other. Now, who's to say that there weren't technological advances and conveniences that we had? And there are artifacts and finds all around the country that lifts up these advanced technologies that people don't want to talk about. They want to hide them. They want to bury them because they don't want Yahweh to redeem you. They don't want Yahweh to buy you back. They don't want Yahweh to deliver you from your spiritually dead condition so that you can be made whole, made good. That Yahweh's promise to you, and let's go back to promise because he made a promise. Yahweh mentioned that this promise in our chapter here, in our reading, that we would be delivered. He asked us in the very beginning, are you conscious of the fact that I told your father, Abraham, almost 6,000 years ago, that you would be a stranger in a land, America, that is not yours, and that you would serve, which we know this, we see it, that you would serve the rulers of America and that they would afflict you 400 years. But his promise didn't stop there. And also that nation whom you have served will I judge. Yahweh will judge. And afterwards, we, the so-called spiritually dead lost sheep house of Israel, will come out with great substance. Now, Yahweh told us to stand still because this is Yahweh is going to judge. Yahweh is going to make this happen. Yahweh is going to redeem us. Yahweh will buy us back. Yahweh will ransom us, will rescue, deliver, save, make amends for, make good. But our responsibility is to be in alignment with Yahweh's laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments. And in this, I have to understand that we need rest from this laborious conditions that we've been subjected to. So let us reflect on Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, verses 30 through 30. Chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. That's that stand still. You need to rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek, lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest upon your shoulders. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Now, let's understand this now, because rest says one thing to us, but it also means stop, cease, and desist. Well, family, I want to share that we need to rest from participating in the conditions that have kept us in bondage. There needs to be a cessation of the activities, participating, upholding, spending, buying, just continuously investing in the conditions that are creating the harsh laborious conditions for us. We have to begin to take back our labor. Resting means pulling yourselves out of those situations, finding a way to create and meet your own needs. So it doesn't just mean this, not do anything. It means that you got to stop participating in the things that are keeping you bound. And also remember and know and have knowledge that Yahweh is our salvation. And we have to rest in the mind of Yahweh. We have to take on the mind of Yahweh and understand his light. Take on the yoke of Yahweh, which is a yoke of knowledge. Understand that this light is the information that we're gaining in this feast. Do you accept Yahweh Ben Yahweh as your Redeemer? Do you want to be relieved of these conditions? Do you want to take yourselves from this downtrodden position into a position of deliverance? And I want to share with you one more piece from this chapter before I close out my presentation tonight. Again, we are in our Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. And this Passover is a sign of our deliverance. So reading from chapter by Yahweh Ben Yahweh, Shall You Be Preserved, page 306. The story of that deliverance, which is the Passover, must go before you and is celebrated in our annual Passover Feast of Unleavened Bread. As you walk toward freedom, independence, and liberty in Yahweh, your adversaries will remember the demonstration of power of your God, Yahweh, in your flight from Egypt. So we fled Egypt, family. We fled. We were given an instruction to come out of her, come out of America, come out of her. We have to flee Egypt. We have to flee America today. All those things that we are accustomed to, the conveniences, the things that we have associated with, we can recreate that. We can stop upholding the things, make better decisions about what we're buying, make better decisions in what systems we're participating in, pull ourselves out of that. And doesn't mean we have to go back into the woods or to the dark ages. Most folks here say that, and they automatically assume that we mean revisit the dark ages. Well, Yahweh Ben Yahweh made you creative, and you can create heaven for yourself. Going back into this chapter, that your adversaries will remember the demonstration of the power of your God, Yahweh, in your flight from Egypt. As Yahweh Ben Yahweh leads you out of the mindset of America. See, it's a mindset. It's not just the things that we say, oh, I got to give up this and I got to give up my mascara. It's the mindset. Once you make that decision to change your mind, the mascara becomes unimportant. The conveniences become lesser and less important because you're going to make decisions that are aligned with your freedom, your liberty, your independence. As Yahweh Ben Yahweh leads you out of the mindset of America, the terror of Yahweh shall fall upon your adversaries, and the inhabitants of the land shall faint because of you. Your adversaries and the inhabitants of the land shall faint because of you. When they see us not participating in the things that are servitude, when they see us dressed in our white, when they see us standing up for Yahweh and claiming Yahweh as our God and Yahweh Ben Yahweh as our Redeemer, they will faint because of us. Your adversaries will say, we have heard how Yahweh dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did unto the two kings of the Amorites that were on the other side of Jordan, Shihon and Og, whom were utterly destroyed. So Yahweh gave us power to fight those battles. And as soon as we heard these things, our heart did melt. Neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For Yahweh, your God, he is God in heaven above and earth beneath. That came from Joshua chapter 2, verses 9 through 11. Family, Yahweh Ben Yahweh has given us a formula, a calculation, a divine model for our deliverance. And now we must be relieved of that by taking on Yahweh Ben Yahweh as our deliverer. And without further ado, family, I want to bring on the man that has redeemed me. He is here to redeem you. He is our deliverance. He is the King of Kings. He is the Prince of Peace. He is the mighty God. He is the counselor, and he is the one that is here to bring about that change in our minds, in our lives today. Family, I present to you the most honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Praise Yahweh.
I'm so glad God loved me. How do I know? 'Cause they told me so. He woke me up early when I was suffering. Son, you won't suffer no more. So glad Yahweh loved me. He took my blind eyes and gave me sight. And when I was running around doing everything wrong, he took all my wrong and made it right. Yeah, lady. You see, now I'm living in a peaceful and a tranquil mind. You see, he did things for me that nobody else ever could do. You see, God got the power. He did it for me. He can do it for you. For Yahweh is all right. The mighty God is all right.
Take me into sound. I just left sound, but I want to go back.
Sound. The sensation produced by stimulation of the organs of hearing, by vibrations transmitted through the air or another medium.
Check it out. Look at the power of that sentence. Now see, since I'm giving instructions to sing unto Yahweh and to sing praises directly to his name, then I must understand the nature and the character of sing in order to fulfill it. Now, I have taught you this scripture, read this scripture for 9 years. Why haven't you come up with this approach? After 9 years, you have convinced me that you're not going to come up with this approach. Because you have read the scripture for 9 years and set it down and repeated it in a very childlike fashion when you did repeat it, and most of you have forgotten to even repeat it to somebody. And when you did, you are now discovering tonight that you were indeed a child when you talked about it. Okay, would you repeat that again? Because this is something that Yahweh has ordered me to do unto him and to his name. Come on, baby.
Sound. The sensation.
Now, hold it. See, right away, I'm into Yahweh. Down, see, your mind has skipped the reality of getting this to the T. In order to get into sing, we have to get into the. See why the enemy wants to separate me from you and you from me? He doesn't want your mind elevated up to this that I'm giving you tonight. Okay, so I'm going to move past the and enter
the sensation.
Sensation. All right, baby, you know I'm going to sensation here. Because boy, I'm excited to think about singing, to sing unto Yahweh is about a sensation. Not a sensation, but
the sensation.
You talk about an orgasm. That little feeling you get, that you'll get in trouble sometimes trying to get that little feeling. That only lasts for just seconds. It's only a sign of the sensation. That little fleeting second of your feeling, your orgasm, makes you sometimes be driven to leave home, go against mama, daddy, make you break rules and regulations, take a chance on getting killed with adultery. That drives you to produce children. You don't even plan on them, but you be driven anyway. That drive that you don't understand is but a sign of the sensation. That just singing will bring about. When you sing to the name. Woo! See, I'm getting it now. See, it's good beyond description. explain to you what's wrong. Just like you can now see from your mentally dead state to where you are now, you realize how pitiful you were in your dead state in relationship to where you are now. Well, it's the same thing about your lack of knowledge of singing to the name. You are still dead to the sensation. It's like a virgin that never had a man. She can hear you who had a man tell her about it. But she can't know until she has it. And if he is not very good at what he does, you still will miss even a sensation and be wondering what they talking about. Now that's on a physical, carnal level, which is but a what? Sign about the sensation that you're supposed to receive from just singing to his name. But see, it's an element in there. It's called sing praises. When it comes to his name, you gotta sing praises. See, if you don't sing praises, if praises are not included, see, you still gonna miss the sensation. And so evidently, praise is key. Woo, this is something high. This is so spiritual. I'm mixing it with fleshly so that you can kind of, within your experience of reading or hearing or talking, you can kind of relate in a way. It doesn't mean you'll get the sensation, but it doesn't mean you'll experience the sensation necessarily, but you need to know something. You realize there's something that you need to experience. And it's something that's telling us right now that there's an experience that we can receive from Yahweh's name that'll just set us on a high. That once we get it, we're never going to be satisfied until we keep on getting it. It's kind of like a woman is not ready to have any more children, but she's going to keep on getting it. Even if it costs more children, she's still going to keep on getting it. Once you get the experience, the sensation from singing praises to Yahweh's name, you just go, even if somebody revile you or cast your name out as evil or say false things about you, you just gonna keep on getting it. You're just gonna keep on singing praises to Yahweh's name. It don't matter what the world may say. It don't matter what the world may do. It don't matter how the world may feel. But I'm going for the sensation and singing praises to Yahweh's name. See, I'm experiencing the sensation right now. I can't be still. It's so good. Oh, Yahweh. It's like sweet nectar. It's so good, I don't want to keep it to myself. I want to share it with as many people as possible. I want as many of Yahweh's creation to experience the sensation as I can cause to have it. That's why I gave you sensational touch. That's why I gave you touch and feelings and sight. Senses. I gave you senses so you can have the sensation. Sensation comes from sense. Child, carry me. What we into right now? Sensation? Sensation. We're in the sound. We haven't even gotten into sensation. So I think we ought to go from sound into sensation right now for a second. Because the nature of sound carries me to the sensation. So give me some insight to this, since
Sensation. The operation or function of the senses.
Now there's something about singing praises to Yahweh's name that deals with the very operation and function of our senses. Now that sounds like dealing with the very composition of, dealing with the nature of, dealing with what makes our sense operate. Huh? Function. 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 This is an odyssey, child. Come on, hurry. Whew, I want to get it while I got my sight on it. I don't want to let it go. I want to get more of this. Woo, you ought to be excited about getting some of this. See, just when I look at you, see, that's what I told you years ago, that if I just glance at you, you ought to be able to get an orgasm. Don't let, and your knowledge should grow so that don't let me touch you. Just my finger, just touch you. You're supposed to be through. And it's awesome when you know you're touching the sensation. Yeah, we're talking about me. See, that's only a sign when I touch you, that's the sign. If you can touch me, that's only a sign. Oh, let's don't get off on that. Come on, child. Function.
Function. The kind of...
Wait. See, function. Spell function.
Function. F-U-N.
Hold it. See, the sensation is fun. And I told you what fun is. And learning is drop the L, you have E-A-R. That's an ear. Ear is here. That deals with the function of the senses. Hearing that receives what? Sound.
Praise Yahweh. I am just so grateful for this message from Yahweh Ben Yahweh, because we are dealing with the primordial vibration and dealing with the senses and understanding that we are the children who are designed to sing praises to Yahweh. Now, today isn't the day for us to be mourning and crying and weeping. We rejoice in what we see Yahweh doing this day. And that's what this singing praises is about. It's about us living the lifestyle that Yahweh Ben Yahweh prescribed to us. Living a holy and good life is no longer about accepting what has been given to you. You choose to do good. You choose to be made good and sing praises to our Father Yahweh. I like to thank the most honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh for these words. I encourage everyone to study this and understand that this primordial vibration, which I do not have time tonight to go into, although it's one of my favorite subjects, vibrations and energy, I will save that for another day and encourage you to study this message and understand that it's beyond just the rejoicing part. It's about how you live your life, how you operate day to day that gives you that vibration, that you're singing praises to Yahweh, your walk, your talk, everything about everything that you do has to be converted that demonstrates that rejoicing in Yahweh. So thank you, Yahweh. This concludes my presentation for tonight. I will be moving over to presenting as one of the fundraising people for this evening with Brother Lou. So I thank Yahweh for allowing me to share, and that concludes my presentation for this evening. Praise Yahweh.
presentation for tonight. What a great presentation by our presenter and the message from the master teacher, the King of Israel, the founder of the nation of Yahweh. What a celestial, primordial vibration, sensational message for this evening. Praise Yahweh.
Well, praise Yahweh. It was awesome to be in place and space to share studies that Yahweh has put in my mind and in my heart. So I'm just very grateful for that.
Well, we are in the part that we all take part in. It's the offering. And those who were around when Yahweh Ben Yahweh was present at the feast, and we all came and presented our offering. Well, just imagine it's that time and that Yahweh is sitting there watching us come up and give our offering. And you can come up by coming off mute if you like and saying that I'm pledging, I'm donating, I'm offering, I'm just paying tithes. You don't even have to give the amount. I paid tithes tonight. So praise Yahweh. Or I made an offering. Praise Yahweh. I want to help not the Abraham Foundation, but the Nation Building Institute program, the BUILT program. I want to support those things with my offering or my gift or my donation or my pledge. So you can do that now before we move into the first presentation for this evening.
Indeed. And as you see, family, on screen is ways that you can make your donations. We have made it where you can come off mute real quick. We will be going into a presentation here momentarily by our sister Shifra, but want to give you an opportunity to make your contributions. You can go on the nationofyhwh.com and click on the Tides button and donate that way. Or you can also do so via Cash App at $donate NOY. You can also text the word donate, just one word, donate, to area code 504-386-4579. Or if you don't have it today and you like to make a pledge, you can text the word pledge to area code 504-386-4579. And without further ado, I want to invite our beautiful, illustrious, astute, and profound sister Shifra Ben Yahweh, with an excellent presentation. Praise Yahweh.
Shalom, family. Shifra here with a brief message. Night one, we praise the name of the Lord Yahweh, and Brother Samuel talked to us about the physical, mental, and spiritual Passover. Brother Amon touched the surface regarding us not being prepared for certain things. All of our presenters this feast have briefly expressed some form of professional preparation for
Neo Jazz School of Music is an educational
Technical error, sis. Many apologies.
Yahweh. All of our presenters this feast have briefly expressed some form of professional preparation for the kingdom of Yahweh, which is the title of my lesson tonight. I'll be coming from Deuteronomy 31:6, which reads, "Be strong and of a good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord Yahweh, thy God, he it is that does go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee." Praise Yahweh. How many of you know that it takes a level of profession to be mentally, physically, and financially strong? Let us look at a professional by definition, which is one who is characterized by and conforming to technical and ethical standards. Professionalism is a direct calling requiring specialized knowledge and often long and intensive academic preparation. It requires the whole body of persons to be engaged in this calling. Now, this definition included specialized knowledge. What makes knowledge special? Every individual has a particular purpose. And when you have mastered your God-given purpose, you then have mastered a level of superiority, which makes you strong and mentally powerful. Knowledge is powerful, but the gifted knowledge you obtain from Yahweh Ben Yahweh is a special kind of power, distinguished by unusual qualities, held in the highest esteem. The knowledge of Yahweh Ben Yahweh is perceived by a logical family of geniuses. Now, the suffix pro, P-R-O, in the word professional means to be at the head of your profession, mental and emotional control concerning the professional. The verb fess, F-E-S-S, means you must own up to that profession, making sure it is true and valid and essential to the kingdom of Yahweh. The next part of the word professional is a suffix, I-O-N, and it is the act or process of how you conduct or manage your profession. The latter end of this word is AL, a transitive verb that points out the character of the professional and the group that it presents. The name speaks for itself. So let us get back to the verse. The first command of professional preparation in Deuteronomy 31:6 is to be strong. The word strong, code H2388, kazaf in Hebrew, is rooted from fastening upon, moving, proceeding, and acting in celerity with Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Strength comes from directing our full attention to him, with strengthens us, cures us, repairs us, and amends us. Now, looking at the Random House Dictionary, page 1303, it defines strong as mentally powerful and vigorous, especially able, content, and powerful in a specific field or respect. Mental power enhances vigor, which in turn allows you the opportunity to develop a sense of physical and financial preparedness. Now, when we get into synonyms of the word strong from the J.I. Rodale Synonym Finder, page 1170, it describes those that are strong as keen, astute, ethical, and of strong moral fiber. When Yahweh Ben Yahweh brought us up out of darkness with an outstretched arm, signs and wonders, he didn't just reach out, grab hold of you, and pull you out. He extended our limitations with extraordinary and inexplicable mental power. He then used your moral soundness to create strong moral fiber. See, that's the structure that imparts elasticity, flexibility, and strength. And although you gained from his hand, it was all demonstrated for the purpose of showing the world that he walks with us, that he lives, to show them that through Yahweh Ben Yahweh, we are kazat ve'amas, and we do not fear them, because Yahweh Ben Yahweh does go with us. He will not leave us or let us down. He will not disappoint us, desert, or neglect us, nor will he refuse you if you allow him to carry you over. Who is them? Them are they that are in control and are not with you, they that govern the world, them that produce the food, supply the water, and pollute the air by making it unfit for use due to the introduction of unwholesome and undesirable elements. And if you think for one moment that your strength, courage, and fear is not professionally connected to them, then you are in trouble. So what are we required to do with our professional preparedness? You should utilize this knowledge for the special processes, technical, and ethical necessity of the nation of Yahweh. Build up yourself and those in your capacity. We, the whole body, the royal regal house of Judah, are required to possess strength, which requires amending. We must modify, rephrase, add, and subtract from their constitution. We need those of strength and courage for this. As the nation of Yahweh, we have been given basic principles and laws for our nation's strength. These principles and laws determine the powers and duties of the government and guarantee certain rights to the people in it. To have good courage requires us to be physically alert, mentally strong, and approach them with firmness and bravery. To not be afraid is to practice good courage and strength. We are only as strong as the weakness of our nation. Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 through 24 says, and whosoever and whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord Yahweh, and not unto men, knowing that of the Lord Yahweh ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance. For ye shall serve the Lord Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Yahweh Ben Yahweh is the founder of our great nation. So why not give back to your foundation to help strengthen it? We need the whole body to be greatly interested, involved, and committed to the cause. Thank you all for joining us for the Passover Feast of Unleavened Bread. Praise Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
Praise Yahweh. And we are back, and
Go ahead. Oh, what an exceptional presentation, and a reminder of the professional presentation we must be coming with. Praise Yahweh.
Praise Yahweh. And we are back to our fundraising efforts, the donation. This is what makes the world go around. You know, they say the feast is made for laughter and wine maketh merry, but money answers all things. Family, we know this is a crucial time in our existence. This is the time that we return to our Father Yahweh. We're waking up in massive, all around the world, all around the country. We're waking up to the truth that Yahweh is God. Now, all those other nations who know Yahweh is God are watching Yahweh destroy America. Yahweh judge America, and America is falling down. And our salvation is in the words of the most honorable, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, but not only being a hearer of the words, we have to be a doer of the words. And he told us our salvation is in each other, coming together, pooling our resources, and building our community, building up the waste places. That's what we're here for. That's what we're coming together to do. That's what we're pooling our resources for. And the Yahweh Nation Building Institute is an institute to house information for us to do business, to cooperate, to begin to farm, learn how to farm, learn how to build communities, how to build societies, learn how Yahweh Ben Yahweh did it. The 1, 2, 3s of how to become a child of Yahweh, how to become a son or daughter of Yahweh. Yahweh Ben Yahweh teaches this every week on Unfolding Light. You too can be a son or daughter of Yahweh. You just have to do what he did. But this institute is designed to teach all of what he did. And so that we can do it and have the same prosperity. Praise Yahweh.
Praise Yahweh. Yes, sir. And I do want to just lift out our sister who made a donation or a pledge last night, or a donation last night, is Queen Abiella. We want to give a shout out to our family out there on YouTube. And if Queen Abiella shared a contribution last night of $50 and is also doing so again this evening. So praise Yahweh, Queen Abiella, for your contribution. All right, praise Yahweh. As we get through some of these technical challenges we're often faced with, we want to thank Yahweh for giving us our collective action and also the ability to be one with each other during these feasts. And just a reminder of the ways that you can make your donations. You can visit the Nation of YHWH.com. That's the Nation of Yahweh.com. You can donate via Cash App. That's $ donate NOY. So that's on Cash App. And we also have it where you can text a word donate to area code 504-386-4579, or you can text the word pledge, either or. And we do have a brother Yahweh Hashem, who's been present with us every night of the feast. Brother Yahweh Hashem, what has Yahweh put on your heart? We're going to see if we can get you unmuted.
Shalom, brother. Praise
Shalom,
God.
shalom, brother. Shalom, sister. I just donated $10 to the organization. Praise Yahweh.
Praise Yahweh. And you know, every bit count, man. That stuff is adding up. Praise Yahweh.
Yes, sir.
We certainly thank Yahweh for you, brother, for your spirit. Spirit of giving. Now, who's gonna match that? Who's gonna match that? Who's gonna come on and pledge that or even double that? Come on now. We have only a few seconds left, literally a few seconds left in this broadcast.
And we do want to name that these our efforts are also in support of our BUILT program, our small business grant program. The Yahweh's Nation Building Institute is a natural progression of the work that we've done with helping small businesses. But the grant was the first step, and we want to continue to make these steps towards supporting our family who wants to open businesses. So in order for us to do this, we have to raise the funds to be able to give out. And our goal in these funds is supporting our national economy, so to say. So we want to encourage our family to be a part of the supports for our national economy.
Praise Yahweh.
Well, family, this actually concludes our class, our nightly class for this evening. We do have another caller with their line unmuted before we get to our close.
Right.
Caller with your line unmuted. Praise Yahweh. Welcome.
Shalom. Welcome to the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
Shalom. Welcome to the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Definitely wanted to get in tonight. It was a phenomenal class, a wonderful class, great information, and want to go ahead and make a contribution of $100 because we have to build our nation and we got to do it from within. And it starts with us. Our grant program is great. I actually saw one of our grant recipients on earlier. They must have dropped out. I was hoping to catch them before they got off the line, but we have to be the solution that we're looking for.
Yes, sir. Indeed. You're
Yes, sir.
absolutely correct. We can't wait on anybody else to do it for us. It's time for us to do it.
We've been waiting too long, and Yahweh Ben Yahweh came and told us we can't wait on anybody. We must do it ourselves. If we are to survive, we got to do it ourselves. Praise Yahweh.
Well, praise Yahweh. Told our brother Samuel for coming on, and if we can see him, if he is back tomorrow night, we'll definitely make space for our brother Yuri, who just recently got the small business grant program. Hopefully he can come back tomorrow night and we'll get him on the line to share a little bit about how this grant has helped him and is supporting him in establishing his business. He's setting up a construction company. So we need that kind of work in the nation of Yahweh. There's much business in the cities of Judah. Well, this concludes our nightly class for tonight's Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread observation. Do join us tomorrow night as we have an excellent, exceptional, phenomenal presentation by our brother Jeremiah Job out of Miami, Florida. He will also be teaching from How to Overcome the World. You do not want to miss this message. This brother is astute. He is profound. He has the divine wisdom that Yahweh Ben Yahweh has shared and has been a son of Yahweh for many years. So we just are so grateful to have this presenter on tomorrow night. We also want to encourage you to pay Yahweh and yourselves first and don't touch it. As instructed by the Honorable Yahweh Ben Yahweh, You can visit the Nation of Yahweh at thenationofyhwh.com online and click the Tides button, or you can hit P.O. mail them to P.O. Box 555-115, Orlando, Florida 32855. And I do believe we have one of our sisters who just donated. I want to give her a shout out before we end the class tonight. Our sister Adiva Ruth, who just joined the call. We praise Yahweh. I know you were listening in virtually, but we thank Yahweh for your contributions. We're going to give that. Praise Yahweh. So welcome to the Zoom conference, and we thank Yahweh for your contributions. And we do want to encourage everyone to join us tomorrow night, same time, on the Unfolding Light teleconference line on YouTube and Facebook for our feast class, our final class for our Passover feast. But we'll be back keeping our feast till sundown on Sunday. So just remember that the feast actually closes on sundown Sunday, but we'll have our final class tomorrow evening. And on that, praise Yahweh.
Praise Yahweh. And now I'd like everybody to stand and face the east with outstretched hands as we close out this episode with a prayer to our Heavenly Father. The Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Tefillah.
Avenu Shabbat Shemayim, Yikar De Shemeaka, Tavo Malkuteaka, Yazer Zonkar, King Bashemayim, King Ba'aretz, and Lekum Kukenu, Tain Lanu Hayom, Uslak Lanu, All Kartienu, Kimo Shasol King, Gamanaknu, Lakotiam Lanu, Baal Tevienu, Lade Nisayam, King Kal Senu, Minhara, Hilaka, Hamamlaha, Veha Gibara, Veha Tepir, Leolame, Olamim Sila.
We thank thee, O Yahweh, O living and eternal King, who has so mercifully restored our souls within us. So let everything that has breath
praise Yahweh.